G'day, hi, and welcome. Once again, I got another voiceover. Pretty much all my videos will be voiceover until I get the mic adapter and microphone for the GoPro 5, which might be a little while before things like that, but we'll see what happens. So, I've kind of already talked on this topic, but there's a couple of routes you can take with this topic itself, and one of the things was talking about trusting your bike. So the first version of it I called get to know your bike. So now trusting the bike is a different thing, and this is something again that you're going to learn mainly at low speed. You're not going to learn it at high speed. It's kind of reverse. You'll learn it. It'll take you longer to be comfortable with the bike at low speed than it will at high speed. But you're going to learn more confidence at low speed than you will at high speed, because at high speed you don't know what you don't know when you're first starting out. You don't know how road conditions can kind of sneak up on you and how to respond to things. So confidence in a bike, for example, going in a straight line, getting the clutch out and making the bike roll, and then giving it a little power, changing gears and getting up to highway speed or whatever. Yeah, like this guy passing me right here. It's like, wow, this guy really rides his bike slow. Actually, I'm like probably about 5 or 10 over the speed limit. That's just how fast everybody drives around here. Everybody drives like a maniac. For example, I knew that guy was behind me, so I'm over in my lane a bit. And knowing stuff like that, keeping yourself out of trouble is kind of one of those things that comes with confidence. And also, as you get confidence and you're not distracted by the motorcycle, you're just paying attention to the road. The only thing I'm really watching is my mirrors and what's in front of me. That's usually the only one I watch on my bike, and then, I monitor the speed from time to time because I'm used to my bike. But the thing is to be comfortable on the bike. This is a big thing. If you're scared of the bike, regardless of the bike, if you're scared of it in any sort of form, you are more likely to make bad decisions, meaning coming into corners. You come into a corner, and you'll see a lot of new riders tend to make this mistake. They come into the wrong kind of angle of a corner, and they come in a little too fast, and then when they get to the apex, they overshoot the apex, and then when they're coming out the other side of the corner, they start to scare the crap out of themselves because they don't know where to be in the corner, and it feels like they're getting too close to the edge of the road, so then they start jerking the bike around, and when they do, the bike kind of gets a little squirrely on them, and then they start looking at the ditch and the ground and all the places they shouldn't be looking, and that's usually where the bike ends up, on the ground or in the ditch, because the confidence level to complete the maneuver is lost at some point. And this can happen to an experienced rider as well. You come into a corner too fast, and then you're like, oh my god, I'm going too fast, whatever, and you get a kind of like a oh crap moment. You start to panic, and then you start doing everything but what you should be doing, where when you have more confidence, okay, yeah, you come into the corner, when you realize you're too fast, you focus on getting out of the corner. And a lot of times you're probably not going so to the point where you can't do it. Sometimes you are, like when you're, there's always like they say, the 50% rule. You never go 100% all out of your ability or the bike's ability, because if you do, you got no margin for error. So if you do get a calculation wrong, whatever, you can't reverse it. So decision making is a big one, but you can't make good decisions if you don't trust the machine you're on, whether it's mechanical reliability or just your handling characteristics of that machine. So this is why I say spend time at low speeds getting used to handling the bike around the parking lot, doing figure eights. I'm not talking MotoGP stuff. I'm talking, when you're at low speeds. Let's say you're coming down a hill and there's you see rocks, what I call the asteroid field at the stop signs all the time, and you come down and you gotta stop, okay, and you have to do a turn. You have to do a turn on this loose gravel at kind of with the bike facing downhill. Sometimes that could be a bit of an awkward spot to have your bike on, and I've seen people dump their bikes or almost dump their bikes going downhill. Usually coming up to a top of a hill, what happens, they usually stall on the takeoff. Happens to everybody. If you're not paying attention, taking off on a hill, but stopping on a downhill is kind of even worse, because then, especially a lot of people, they don't utilize their back brake properly. They only use their front brakes when they're, at low speeds, and sometimes they don't have the handlebars where they're supposed to be, and then they scare themselves and end up on the ground. So low speed handling, again, whether you're going uphill, downhill, or on a flat surface, is paramount to building the building blocks for your confidence on the machine. The other one is fighting the bike. When you don't have confidence on the machine, you fight the bike. So you start going there in the corner, the bike starts leaning over, but then you start moving your body in the opposite direction, which tells the bike you want to straighten up while you're turning, which confuses the bike, so to speak, and confuses you, and then the bike gets squirrely on you. Whereas if you just kind of let the corner happen and stay with the bike, what I mean by staying with the bike is that your body doesn't counteract the forces. You just lean gently with the bike and you stay pretty much in line. Your torso stays in line with the bike. It's not like, okay, the bike's slanted to one side or the other and your torso is trying to stay straight up and down, because that again, you're giving the bike mixed signals. Pulling your knees to the tank when you need to, and letting your knees out off the tank when you shouldn't can unbalance the bike. The big one I see is people dragging their feet through a light, where again they use the front brake at the light, which again, if you get a greasy surface, even on a nice day, and you're just using that front brake at the light, you can lock up that front tire at even extremely low speeds and just slip out from underneath you. But then when they take off, they're taking off with both feet dangling, meaning the bike is taking off, unbalanced. Whereas if you're doing the 1 foot approach, or even if you put both feet down once you're stopped, but it's better, the newer way they teach you to ride now is with 1 foot always covering the back brake, and mainly when you're below 10 miles per hour, you can get away with just using the back brake. You don't really need the front brake at that point. You don't need that much stopping power, that type of thing. But when you're coming into a stop, always use your back brake before your front brake, and use them in tandem if you can. That way you don't wear just one brake or the other, but most importantly, the back brake stabilizes the motorcycle. But the other thing too is, if you're using your back brake when you're coming to a stop, the bike's almost completely stopped before you take your feet off the pegs and unbalance the bike. So by using your back brake at low speeds, you get used to keeping your knees to the tank, and in towards the chassis of the bike, and you also get used to keeping your feet on the pegs, which one of the big things, especially at low speed, that people have a hard time with, and it's the same thing when I was starting out too, is at low speeds, you start to turn the bike, and all of a sudden the bike feels like it's going to fall over, and you take your feet off the pegs, which instantaneously destabilizes the bike. A lot of the times you could save it, but it's people get nervous and they take their feet off the pegs, where if you kind of fight that nervousness a little bit and you keep your feet on the pegs, you handle the bike much better at low speeds, and most importantly, you get used to that sensation and threshold where, if you go slow enough, yes, you will fall over. There is a threshold, but you'd be surprised how slow you can go and still keep the bike upright and not fall over. I can get this, basically move this bike in a circle at less than 5 kilometers an hour, which is about 3 miles an hour. So if I can keep this bike, mind you got to kind of really work your body counterbalance, or counter steering, balancing your body to get it to do what you need it to do. But on the other hand, there's also the thing is that once you get that kind of control, you no longer fear the bike falling over at low speeds. So you don't even think about it when you're at high speeds. You're just like, okay, here's my turn. I'm coming into my turn. Approach speed on the turn. Throttle control's good. All that stuff, and then all I have to do from there is just basically trust the bike to go through the curve. And obviously I got to do my part, but if you're not nervous on the bike whatsoever, which I have no nervousness of this motorcycle at all, because I do treat it as if I've never ridden before in my life, even though like I say, I've got lots of miles on the road, probably 130,000 miles over the years on the road, but most of that's from 20 years ago. On this bike, I've only got, I'm making this video, but 1,700 kilometers on it, which is a little over 1,000 miles. Maybe closer to 1,100 miles of riding on this bike. And that to me is just kind of the get to know you phase. And yeah, I've opened it up a bit. I haven't, rang the throttle or whatever, but I have, grabbed this bike and do some low speed handling stuff, which you're about to see some low speed handling stuff here. Every now and then, I try to at least once a week practice doing like a parking lot figure eight or whatever low speed handling, just to keep those skills up, because you never know when you need to use them exclusively, and to have the confidence of you, like, okay, watch how I turn the bike here. I don't put my feet down when I do this. So you see I come in wide and I turn, and again, see it's a tight squeeze here, but my feet don't come down off the pegs at all. But if I were to take my feet off the pegs when I was near the, yes, I'm revving people, I'm rev bombing the hall here. But if I were to take my feet off the pegs when I saw that guy and go, oh my god, the van, chances are, looking at the van, taking my feet off the pegs, getting nervous and scared, I would probably crash into the van. So you go where you look. That'll be another topic for another time. But the big one is trust the bike, and the best way to trust the bike is get your low speed handling in first, and then you just learn how to stay with the bike. So anyway, I'll leave it at that, and yeah, there we go. Have yourselves a great day. And like, I'm taking off of rough stuff here, you can see that the bike kind of bounces around. But again, feet on the pegs. Don't let off the pegs ever. Trust the bike. And when you trust the bike, you learn to trust yourself, and your confidence level will go up. But don't get a false confidence. Just, learn how to use the bike properly and stuff like that. Alright, so have yourselves a great day.